Lakeside Nature Center. I'm Jackie Blessington, one of the staff here at the center, and welcome to today's series on squirrels. Did you guys know that in Missouri we actually have two kinds of squirrels? We have gray squirrels and we have fox squirrels. Sometimes people call them red squirrels, but technically they are fox squirrels. Quite a bit bigger than the gray guys. Sometimes you'll see both of them in the same area, but usually they like to inhabit different areas on their own. Now naturally squirrels are found in upland forest, along rivers. These guys have adapted quite well to city living though. As long as they've got some good trees that have their favorite foods, which are nuts, of course, acorns and hickories. They also will eat a lot of plant vegetation, other fruits, other seeds, but definitely acorns and nuts are their favorites. All kinds of nuts, walnuts, hickory nuts, sunflower seeds, yeah, you name it. Now, we like to talk of squirrels as being nature's best farmers, and it's because of exactly what I just said, nuts being their favorite foods. Did you guys know, though, that squirrels are always so busy trying to steal their neighbors' acorns and walnuts, then they bury them, that they actually forget where they buried their nuts? And then what happens? Voila! You get a tree that grows, and that's why they call them nature's best farmers. Now, in the wild, squirrels really only live to be about 1 to 2 years old, maybe 5 or 6, but they have a pretty short lifespan in the wild. I don't know if you caught our segment on bunnies and cottontails and that they're at the bottom of the food chain. Remember we talked about prey species? Squirrels are actually prey species as well, and that probably contributes to their low lifespan of only 1 or 2 years. Squirrels here in Missouri actually breed a couple times a year. Their breeding season can actually start as early as February. They're one of the first babies that we get into the Nature Center because babies can be born as early late February or into March. Now, squirrel litters usually average 2 to 4, though they can have a few more than that. And they can also have 2 litters per year. So sometimes we'll get babies as late as September when it comes to squirrels. So this time of year, we're starting to get in a lot of baby squirrels. As I mentioned, they'll have their first litters in February or March. This little guy here is only a couple weeks old, and he's got a pretty good chance of making it, I'll have to say. When they're actually little pinky squirrels, they're much more difficult to raise because they're just tiny little guys that need mom's care 24 hours a day. Now, when these squirrels get to be about 6, 7 weeks old, they're actually going to venture from the nest the first time, but they're still going to be with mom. It isn't until they're about maybe 10 or 12 weeks old they're actually independent. That doesn't mean that they're going to leave mom. They might still be hanging around with her because she's going to teach them a lot of life skills. But because mom does potentially have 2 litters each year, babies by the time they're 12 weeks old are actually independent and on their own. This little guy, however, is not. So people call it with lots of concerns about squirrels. So our next step is we're going to talk about problems with squirrels, why you might find a baby squirrel on the ground, and what to do to help that guy. As I mentioned, anywhere from 12 weeks on, these guys are independent. Fall babies, though, sometimes will stay with their moms over winter until the next spring when the next litter is born. Sometimes when you're out in your yard, or you might be on a hike, you find a little baby on the ground, and you wonder, oh my goodness, should this guy be out here on its own? Well, if he's a little tyke like the one I just showed you, probably not. First thing that you want to do is make sure that he doesn't have any injuries. Check him out. Make sure there's no bruising, no blood. You also want to check to see if there's any flies around him or maybe fly eggs. In any of those situations, go ahead and bring that little guy into the Nature Center and we'll get him checked over to make sure he doesn't need additional care. Now let's say he's healthy. There's no injuries. There's no apparent bruising. It could be that mom got disturbed. Maybe she was moving her babies from one of her many nests. So we have a couple options of things that we can do to try to get that baby reunited with his mom. First things first though is we've got to make sure that those babies are warm. Moms don't really like to retrieve cold babies because they think they might be dead or dying. Couple things that we can do. You can take them into the house, take them in where it's warm. You have some options. You can warm up a bottle of water and place them with this bottle of water to kind of warm up their body. Maybe wrap the bottle with a towel so that they're not right on top of it. Another option you have is hand warmers. You can utilize these to help warm the baby up. Again, don't lay them right on top of it, but maybe put a blanket or a towel in between them. Another option is a rice or a bean bag. Again, don't get it too hot, warm enough though that you can put the baby beside it and get them warmed up. Now, once you've decided that the baby is warm and ready to go out and try a reunite, we have some simple options. Oh, I forgot to mention, did you guys know the squirrels are only active during the day? So we want to make sure that we give a reunite option when it's daylight out, because that's the best chance of getting a reunite with mom. Maybe you have an ice cream bucket. Maybe you have a little basket. These are simple, easy things that you can do. With that warm baby, put him inside of this container. Let's go ahead and put a nice little warm blanket or towel in there with him. Keep that heating source in there too so he stays nice and warm while he's out. We always like to say we want to put him up as high on the tree as possible. So let's pretend that this is our tree. People are always worried that they can't get it up to the nest. And we are like, of course not, that's going to be a challenge. Those nests can be 20 feet or higher in the air. Really what we want to do is make sure that the baby is not on the ground, because being on the ground is not as safe for mom to retrieve a baby, because remember, there's predators out there. So if we can take these simple containers, maybe you have a hammer and a nail. All you got to do is get as high on the tree as you can and hammer it to the side of the tree, or maybe just screw it into the side of the tree. Other options might be, if you can't hammer or nail it in, or maybe there is a low limb, you can use things like wire or string. Or even if you have to in a pinch, maybe you've got duct tape. It works for everything, right? Just tape it to the side of the tree, just long enough to give mom a chance to retrieve those babies. So here's the key though about mom squirrels and reunites with babies. Once you get it warm, you get it up as high on the tree as you can get it. You want to walk away and give mom time to find those babies. Those babies will make noises. Mom will be looking for them because, as I said earlier, mom squirrels are very, very attentive to their babies. So if you can go in the house and watch from a window or somewhere that's away from where the tree is, do your observations. And you want to do it for most of the day actually, because we want to give mom plenty of time to come and find those babies and take them to one of the other nests. Maybe the nest fell out of the tree. That's one thing that could have happened, and she's going to take them to another nest site. If by nightfall you have not seen mom come and take those babies, just check. If the babies are still in the bucket or the basket, take them back inside for the night, because remember, squirrels are not active at night, and we want to make sure that they're not at risk for predation. And then, first thing in the morning, let's try it one more time. Let's say by noon, mom hasn't retrieved those babies. Go ahead and bring them on into the nature center, and we'll do the best we can to raise them up for release, either ourselves or with one of our many rehabbers. Sometimes something more permanent happens with the nest, and that's the tree gets removed, or maybe a tree falls down in a storm, and then we have to look for other alternatives. Again though, moms have multiple sites for nest. Just always keep that in mind. But we do have an option to provide them with an additional nesting site if they choose it. These would include things like squirrel nest boxes. Thanks to many of our Eagle Scout projects and volunteers here at the Nature Center, we have a lot of nest boxes on site that we can use for special purposes, like when a tree is completely removed. What we're going to want to do though is the same thing as we mentioned before. We want to get this nest as high on the tree as possible. This time around, you might actually want to get a ladder out and get a little bit higher than our temporary basket was before. To get that box attached to the tree, you can use things like wire to wrap it around the tree, or hang it, string, or even bungee cords. Whatever you have on hand to get it hung to the tree. Or you can make a special adaptation on the back of the box and simply attach it straight to the tree. What you can do is put a bunch of leaves in the box, and that provides natural nesting material. If you don't have any leaves handy, if we send a box out with you, we also have things like shavings available. We'll put these natural wood shavings in the bottom of the nest box, again, to provide Mom with some nesting material. So like we did before though, once you have your nest box attached to the tree as high as you can safely get it, make sure that those babies are warm, none of them got injured, and then you're going to place them inside of the nest box. If you need to, you can also keep your warming materials in the nest box if needed. And then again, put those babies in there, but then walk away and watch from a distance. Oftentimes when trees are completely removed, moms are very anxious and very nervous about all the activity that just happened. It is very unlikely that they're going to come back within the first hour or so to retrieve their babies from that nest box, or maybe they choose to use that as a new nesting site. So we have to give her plenty of time to calm down and look for her new babies. She may choose to use the new nest box as a nesting site, or she may move them into another location. If by nightfall you haven't seen activity around the nest box, I would recommend that you actually check out the nest box and see if the babies are still in there. If they're warm and they look healthy and everything's good, you could leave them in the nest box overnight so that they're there first thing in the morning for Mom to try to retrieve or find. Or you can take them in for the night, as we mentioned before, and then take them back out first thing in the morning. If you're lucky, Mom's going to use this nest box year after year. Now sometimes we have situations with squirrels, those pesky little things. They get into your attic, they get into your soffits, they get into your gutters, and they can cause some damage within the home. We have options for that as well. The first option, of course, is the easiest option. That is just to let Mom raise these babies. The key is though, you've got to figure out where Mom is coming and going in the attic, because once those babies are raised by Mom and they leave the nest on their own and they're independent, they're going to keep coming back into that same hole. So the first key is find out where the hole is. Secondly, just let Mom raise those babies until they're gone out of the nest. As soon as that happens, make sure you get the hole covered. Otherwise, she'll be back for litter number 2. Okay, now let's say that is just not going to be an option, letting Mom raise those babies and they move on their own. We have a couple more options out there. One is to maybe encourage Mom to leave and move the babies with her. Remember I said they have more than one nest site. So we have some things that we can do to maybe encourage Mom to leave the attic. For example, you have a plastic Ziploc bag. You're going to put some holes in this bag and put like a couple rags or towels inside of there. You're going to soak them with something like ammonia. You can take these ammonia-soaked rags and bags and put them all over the attic. Mom doesn't like that smell and she's going to want to get away from it. That's one step that you can do to encourage her to move those babies on her own. Other things that you can do to encourage her to move, maybe in addition to the ammonia, is to play loud music. Squirrels don't like a lot of loud rock music, so play that radio up there, play it loud. Especially, like I said, they are sleeping at night, so we want to do this during the day when they're more likely to move and get those babies out of there. Another option is floodlights or lights that come off and on with motion. Floodlights are probably better though for squirrels because if they have a light on in the attic, they don't want to be there at night sleeping. So you have these options. Go with smells, go with sounds, go with sights. The key is that we want Mom to be uncomfortable in that situation and move the babies out on her own into another nest. Now the last option we have is not the easiest option, but is definitely an option that we have, and that is to actually physically remove the babies from the attic, the soffit, or the gutter. And we can do this using what we call reuniting boxes. Actually, if you go up and you remove those babies, Mom is going to take off. So you don't have to worry about Mom being in that area while you're doing all of this. She's going to take off. You're going to physically get those babies out of the nest, and we're going to put them in a reuniting box. With that reuniting box, ideally, we would put it close to where she has been traveling. Oh, don't forget though, you've got to close the hole so Mom doesn't go back in the attic. So we've got the babies out, we've closed the hole, mom is out of there. We're gonna put the babies in the reuniting box. We can either put it high where she's traveling to other nests. We can put it down on the ground. Again, moms are very attentive when it comes to squirrels. She's gonna look for those babies and she's going to try to retrieve them and take them into another nest. So for more information about reunite boxes and to actually get some reunite boxes, contact us at Lakeside Nature Center and we'll help you out with that. You know, 99% of the time, if you hear animals in your attic, there is probably babies because moms have decided this is a great place to raise a family. So always keep that in mind. When you want to get rid of adult animals, there are probably babies there as well, especially if it's in the spring or summertime. People often ask, what can I feed this baby squirrel? Just to make sure he's okay until mom gets him or until I bring him into the nature center. Well, we really don't want you to feed the babies anything. A couple reasons. One, they might aspirate, which means they get that milk in their lungs. But also remember that moms have special milk formulas. Every species is different, and we don't want to give this baby something that's not going to be healthy for them. We also want the babies to be a little vocal so that mom can find them if we have to move them a little bit away from where the nest originally was. So we asked, please don't feed the babies before you put them back out for mom or you bring them into the nature center. So we've been talking a lot about like little squirrels, guys that are not out of the nest yet. But remember I said earlier that they're not really independent until they're 12 weeks or older. So they're going to start venturing from the nest on their own. Mom is still around, but it doesn't mean that they are independent. Sometimes you'll see a squirrel maybe about this size, down on the ground, hanging out, not moving away. In fact, he's following you, and he's trying to climb up your leg. Well, that is a pretty sure sign that that little guy has been orphaned. A squirrel, even at that young age, is not going to seek out human interaction. They're going to be looking for their mom, and actually they should run away from you because they're scared. What's probably happened is they've been without a mom for a few days and now they're hungry and they're looking for somebody to give them protection and comfort. If you happen to find a squirrel that is about this age and acting the way as I mentioned, go ahead and bring it on into the nature center. They probably need to have some extra care before they're old enough to be out on their own. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us today on our series of All About Squirrels. We hope you've gotten some more information on how to best keep those babies out so that mom can raise them and do the best job ever to get them to adulthood. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us at Lakeside Nature Center. We're here to help.